I'm headed down there at the end of April to pick up my daughter at BYU and bring her home for the summer.
In
Okay.
April?
Yeah, the end of April.
In April.
Yeah,
We'll be nice and busy at the end of April, so you stop in
What
and
time
say
is it
hi.
in April?
I live in Lehigh, so it's about 20 minutes. My
Yeah, I
internship
work
actually in Peru.
right now I've been at the Cafe Zupas right off University, what is it, Avenue on, or whatever, in Provo.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, my internship, I can see the stadium. I'm just like off of University Parkway on
That's right. Never get the
Grand
last part of
Boulevard.
the
So,
never get the last part of the road right. They're all just roads. We should just call them all roads. No
yeah,
fan.
I used to have to make that commute down to Provo every day, and that was fun because that was like a 25-minute drive for me.
It's like a 40-minute drive for me every
Yeah,
day.
that stinks.
Yeah.
uh, okay, well, the first part of it, um, I'm supposed to just give you some time to think about. You're supposed to pick a topic to share, like an experience between substance abuse, divorce slash family issues, work, home balance, same-sex relationships, or workplace dating relationships. So maybe just give a couple minutes and think about that so we can discuss that. And I will be right back. My baby's waking up, so.
Michael, what kind of food does Cafe Zupa primarily make?
Soup, salads, and sandwiches.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we do a bunch of different kinds of salads. Then soups, we have a lot of cream-based soups. So lobster soups, clam chowder.
And it's
Uh,
kind of, do you order just like one thing, or is it more of like a, you can sample all sorts?
so the most common thing is people get, it's what we call our try-two combo. People get, so like a salad and a sandwich, or a sandwich and a soup, or something like that.
Oh,
If
that
you get two
sounds good.
in the menu.
Hey, Zach.
Hey guys, sorry I'm a little late.
Hey, it's all right.
So you guys had a minute to think about those topics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, Marty, would you mind starting? Just maybe sharing an own life experience or what you've learned from the class about one of those topics.
did you say me, Amanda?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the only one that I've really had any experience, well, two. So I'll kind of briefly talk about the divorce slash family issues. Personally, I haven't had experience with this as far as me being affected, just me being affected as far as my coworkers go. And so I've watched other coworkers, kind of like the reading that we did, talked about what an effect it has on productivity and how that productivity, of course, goes down when someone's going through a divorce or experiences serious family issue. And, your heart goes out to that individual or individuals, because it seems like it's never just one person, right? It's oftentimes multiple people. Because it's like, when, especially if they're not members of the church, which is the majority around here, unfortunately, they just have really messed up homes and relationships, and it seems like they can't help but bring it to work, and it's just really unfortunate. I really struggle sometimes to be compassionate and have empathy when it's something I haven't had to deal with, because life is so good, and my husband and I just have an amazing relationship, but I know it's because of the gospel, and so patient and try and do what I can to, well, anyway, to just, I guess my challenge is to ignore it and to just, when I'm at work, do the work and hopefully help those going through those situations kind of understand that that's important. I don't know.
I think, yeah, I agree that can be sometimes hard. It's just trying to not let it interfere with your work.
Yeah, because I can understand how they don't probably mean to. I mean, they probably want to come to work to get away from it, but then, I don't know, I'm sure you guys have all had arguments with your spouses, and I mean, even if it's a significant one, it affects, right? It affects everything you do, and you're constantly thinking about them and feeling bad about it. And so I can kind of understand, but at the same time, I wish more people could understand to just leave their, issues kind of at the door, so to speak. And when they're at work, they need to work and not really talk about their personal life.
Yeah. Okay, how about you, Michael?
So the thing that I was thinking about is I had one of my previous jobs was really flexible as far as work-life balance went, and I was on campus studying at the time, and my wife was pregnant with our first kid and everything, and so and she had a lot of struggles with that, with severe morning sickness and some things like that just made it really difficult some days. And my boss was really, really flexible with me as far as being able to leave and come back and things like that, and really flexible with me as far as my work schedule went, um, so that I could attend classes and then come back to work. And what I found in that personal situation of mine was that when I showed up to work, I showed up to work, and I actually did my job, and I worked hard when I was there. Whereas in other situations where I haven't had the same flexibility, when I show up to work, I find myself worrying about the other things that are going on in my life more, and I'm not as focused on the work, and I actually end up not doing as good of work as I would if I had a little bit more flexibility. And so that's my personal experience with that.
Okay. Well, mine was with the work home balance. Just like we were kind of talking before, like my husband's in busy season right now, so he doesn't come home till 2 in the morning, and like I don't feel like he really has, like, there's no balance during those months, but like his work lets all the employees take Fridays off in the summer, and they'll let them take like as much vacation as they want, like outside of busy season time, trying to compensate for it. And so I'm like, that makes it a little bit better. But he can choose his own hours, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because he has a really good work ethic, and like he helps other people out if he's done with his stuff, and so like he ends up working a lot more hours than what he may have necessarily needed to if it was just 8 to 5 job type of thing. But I agree with you. Like I think like he he's explained to me the same thing where like if he can plan and control when and how he's working, whether he's working at home or in the office, and he can choose when to go in and leave, then he just does a lot better. Like he was just saying how like he works a lot better at night after everyone's left, like 8 o'clock on, because like the interns are gone, so he's not getting bugged and things like that. And so I just find it interesting how if you can choose your hours and things like that, like giving that flexibility, like it can make a big difference. I think employers worry about that, like, oh, they're not going to do their job and things like that. But if they have good employees, then they're going to find ways to get their work done, and they're going to do a better job at it. Okay, and Zach, I don't know if you were here when we were just supposed to choose one of the following topics to share, like whether it's a personal experience or just what you've learned between substance abuse, divorce, family issues, work-home balance, same-sex relationships, or workplace dating/relationships. Do you have any comments on one or any of them?
Maybe just to add a little bit to your comments about the flexibility. I know we have a supervisor at work that kind of, for whatever reason, she just has a hard time trusting people. Where I try to, trust somebody until they, at work, if they get through our recruiting process and everything, I think they deserve to be trusted a little bit. So I try to trust employees until they give me a reason not to trust them, where this person, I think, has a hard time trusting, and it would take probably years to gain her trust. And I guess my point is, because of that, I think there's not a very good balance where it's kind of a micromanaging situation and causes some issues. So I like what you said. I think the more flexibility that you can give in a work environment, I think it's more effective and people feel appreciated. And when they feel appreciated and not belittled, I think overall they're going to perform better.
I agree. Well, this discussion is kind of short. It's supposed to last 45 minutes, but it lasted 45 minutes. Has anyone had any experience with like, or have seen anything with like substance abuse or their same-sex relationships or like workplace dating? Has anyone had any experience with those topics?
At one of the stores where I worked at, we had a guy that he was one of our dishwashers, and he just didn't show up for a week straight, and we were like, what in the world is going on with this guy? And turns out he'd been thrown into detox, and so he was gone. He had to be in detox for like 3 weeks, and I mean, we had to have a dishwasher, so we had to replace him. And I don't know what we could have done differently there as far as stuff goes, but
yeah,
it's hard. I mean, you feel bad for the kid because he's a high school student and stuff, and so it's like, man, you gotta get your life straight, but we had to have workers, so.
Yeah, which I think is reasonable. Like, I don't see very many employees, if you have to have that position, just wait for 3 weeks. So.
Yeah, well, it's from a personal decision that you made. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other examples from those three topics or three?
You know, I used to think that I wasn't sure if I could work in an environment where a gay or lesbian person was one of my coworkers, but I've come a long way in my, you know, I've really appreciated some of the things that Elder Holland has said and come out with, and I guess I've just come, well, again, I just live in a really small community, and so, I mean, obviously, you know, I've had contact with some of these people, but not in a working relationship. But I think that now I could do that, again, not in any way that I condone their behavior, but I just kind of like them coming to church. I actually have a friend from high school, a church friend from high school, and you know, at the time I didn't know that she was, and it's just caused me to be more compassionate and recognize that none of us really understand what they might be going through. And again, not that I agree with it, but if they're there and they're doing their job, that's all that matters. And again, it would be one of those things where I assume to not ever talk about, you know, their personal life. But anyway, I don't know.
One
I've thought
time
about that a lot.
I went to a Q&A session with President Clark, and this is going along with what you said, Marnie, about same-sex relationships, and it's difficult, I think, because it conflicts with our religious views and everything, right? And anyway, a student got up and he said that he was going to marriage and family therapy, and he was like, I don't know what to do when I have a same-sex couple come in wanting therapy. And he's like, as a therapist, what would I do as an LDS therapist? And he's like, because I have to provide for my family, so it's like, this is money for me, but my advice to them is that you shouldn't be together. Like, so what do I do? And President Clark was like, well, that's a personal decision that you have to make with a lot of prayer and everything. And he's like, but it goes beyond that, and he presented a few other issues, but that's besides the point. He mentioned when he worked at Harvard how he had an employee that was in a same-sex relationship, and they were going to get married, and they invited him to the wedding, and he said he was kind of torn up inside because he's like, I can't support this wedding, I can't condone it because it's against my views. But then he was like, but I love this person, and so how am I supposed to support them at the same time? Without supporting them. And he said that what he ended up doing was that he went and took the invitation to the person and said, I'm sorry, but you know my beliefs, and you know I can't support you in this decision. It doesn't mean that I think anything negatively of you, and I think you're a wonderful person to work with, but I can't support you in this. I can't show up. But I still love you, and I still want to work with you, and I don't want to hurt our working relationship. And it was interesting to hear his response to that.
That would be a hard thing to do.
So now I'm feeling a little guilty. That friend I was telling you about, she got married recently, and I really struggled with that because same kind of thing. I didn't want her to think that my attending was condoning her relationship with this other gal, but at the same time, after a lot of prayer, for me, it was the right thing to go and support her because I just wanted her to know that I loved her. And I don't know if I'm saying that right, but she knew, I mean, there was no question. She knew where I stood on this. And so it was really weird and it was uncomfortable, but at the same time, I felt good that I had gone and I had supported her because she just needed that. You know, her family were members and they weren't being supported. Does that make sense? I don't know. I just think you have to be prayerful about it, and I think it's different for everyone. And I feel like as long as they know that you don't agree with it and you're not supporting that relationship, I don't know. I think it's a personal thing.
I agree.
So do I. I think it is.
Yeah.
It can be hard sometimes. I haven't like physically worked with anyone that's been gay, but like being a dancer and a dance major, there's a lot of gay men there. And I mean, I was friends with some of them, and I didn't even know they're gay until they mentioned a boyfriend. So it's like, I can handle them fine, but like I've got a gay uncle on my husband's side that he's been secretly living with this guy for years and years and years, and he's been lying about it, and he just was asked to become high priest, and his son actually like went and called the stake president saying, he's doing this. So I think if there's other things going on beside, like if you're acting on the behavior and doing other things, because he's a huge liar and everything else too. So like just the other actions that go along with that behavior, like I think that's when it becomes more difficult as well. It's just it's just really a circumstance thing on how you're supposed to handle things, and yeah, it can be hard.
Yeah, I think we'll start to see it more and more. This same gal comes to church, and it's really interesting because I know it has to be extremely uncomfortable for both of them. I mean, and yet we're told by our church leaders that we are supposed to welcome them. It's just they can't have callings, and of course they can't go to the temple, but at the same time, like anyone else with any other issue, I feel like they're worshiping our Savior in their own way. Um, so I think we just have to be respectful, and I guess I would hope that I would be that way in a work environment as well.
Yeah, I think there just needs to be respect there. Like, you don't necessarily have to agree with beliefs, but as long as there's respect for each other's beliefs and just dealing with what's important, just like at work, like how they're actually performing at work, not what their relationships are, then I think that's how work needs to be handled. Okay, any thoughts on workplace dating or relationships?
Nope.
No.
Okay. What other issues have you seen in society that are likely to impact the workplace besides those topics we've been talking about? Or maybe in the future, what might affect the workplace?
I think substance abuse in our town will become more of an issue. Marijuana is legal now in Washington. I still can't believe that. Anyway, so I just think that we're going to start to see that more and more. In fact, I have a payroll client that I worked with just today, and I can tell, that she's smoking it or whatever they do with it. And, I just can't help but think that once they've legalized the recreational use of it, that it's going to significantly impact the community as well as people's workplace.
I agree. I think it's just the drug problem is just going to get worse and worse, especially with all this like creative ways of like getting away with drugs. I think cell phones and technology, like they can be really helpful in the workplace, but I think they also cause problems. Like everywhere I've worked, cell phones have always been a problem, and I've been guilty of this too. Like it's a way to get away, but then it also interrupts getting work done too. So I think, especially with all this, like with everyone getting cell phones, like it's easier to communicate with people and everything, which it really depends on the job, really, if it's going to affect it or not. But I think those are going to just impact the workplace more and more.
I agree. Didn't we kind of talk about this last week? Because Michael, weren't you saying that the employees have to put their cell phones in a locker?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see where with some places of employment you would absolutely have to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't. Cell phones don't really have a place in a restaurant.
No, they sure don't.
Customers probably wouldn't be very happy if you were helping them and all of a sudden your phone was just going off. So.
Yeah, I was walking in. I was in like a Hallmark store or something, and I was just walking around, and the cashier was in the middle of the store talking on her personal phone, like having a personal conversation. Like this is like really awkward, and I was like trying to get like I needed her help. I'm like, well, I can't ask her because she's on the phone talking to someone. So
It's like that security guard.
yeah,
Yeah, the TSA guy.
He's gonna walk out of the store with some product.
yeah, probably could have.
Yeah, I think it's going to become a real significant issue, especially with like the teenagers right now. I mean, I don't know, hopefully they'll mature and be able to break away, but there are some kids, that can't not answer every single text message or every single call, and maybe it's a maturity thing, I don't know, but I see some real serious issues that'll happen with that.
Yeah, I think the other thing is like social media and things like that too. I mean, most employers have no social media policies, but some people are allowing you to look at your Facebook while you're at work or your Twitter or whatever it is. And I think those are all things that are going to be coming up because, I mean, that's work-life balance, right? Because your Facebook is your personal life, but you're at work, so it's your work life. And so how do you balance the two?
Yeah, I agree. I know, like with one, I was a legal assistant at one point, and like they had everything blocked, so you couldn't like do anything on the internet except a Google search, but like you couldn't click on the actual websites. But then there was times where like you'd have to look up like a doctor's office or like a phone number or an address or something or somewhere, and you had to be really creative because you had to figure out how to get the information to pop up on the Google search page because you couldn't click on the websites. And so I think that was, and the whole point of that was so you wouldn't go on Facebook or like just goof off on the internet. And so it affected my actual work because of that. So I think that could be another hard thing that comes up with technology and media and everything in the workplace as well.
I think another big thing that's coming up lately, I have the young men's president of my ward right now that I work with. He works from home completely. He only goes into the office like once every month or two. And so I think the virtual workplace is another thing that is going to be an issue coming up. think it is an issue right now with a lot of companies.
Yeah, I could see that. Oh, okay. How do you think the workplace will change in the next 10 years? We've kind of talked about this, but any other thoughts on it?
I think I've seen, at least from what I've read and learned in all the business classes, it seems like you, it's. I think work environments are just getting looser, and I think it's people are seeing the advantages of letting people kind of do their thing. Like, there's the old story of what does Google spend X amount of time just letting their employees work on whatever they want, or so I guess just some more flexibility, and it's not so much. I don't think anymore. Come in, punch your time clock. Here's all the set of rules. These are all the things you can't do, and don't do this, don't do that. It's more of a level hierarchy, I guess, than it used to be as well, and just kind of a. I think that trend will continue because I think it is. What's that?
I said, here's an Xbox and a PlayStation. Have some fun.
Yeah.
Well, just reading the articles, I mean, just having like the new thing about having everything open and just kind of having everyone at the same level, like, well, and just looking at my husband's work, like, yeah, he doesn't have to clock in, he can show up whenever. Like, I mean, there's still like, oh, we need to show up at this client by 9 o'clock, but I mean, he still has control over when he's going to show up. He doesn't have to be there like right at 8 or else he's going to get written up or things like that. So I agree. Like, I think there's a lot more responsibility getting put on the employees to do their job and not have as much control from the higher ups.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I think we covered everything in here. It wasn't the discussion wasn't a whole lot of information, but so we have a doohickey paper due next week,
Yeah.
and that's the half one, right, Marnie?
Yeah, that's correct. Thank goodness.
And I'm trying to figure it out because there's a writing assignment for the discussion later this week, and then there's maybe the self-peer evaluation for it says discussion later next week, but it doesn't look like we're supposed to have a discussion next week. So is that supposed to be me that does that one?
Well, it looks like you have the writing assignment this week. Is that what you mean?
Well, there's a writing assignment this week, but then next week there's a self-peer evaluation, which has been, I guess.
I think those are only when there's a doohickey paper.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so it's whoever puts that last paper together.
Okay, we'll do that.
So yeah, I guess, how do you guys want to divide this? We only have to write about the workplace and society and then have the 4 solutions for each one as it applies to that company. And in the past, we've all taken one. So do we want to do, well, hopefully Brent will help us since it's the last paper. And if that's the case, we could all write one solution, I don't know, one solution for each of those 2 issues. How do we want to do that?
And then just have a person put together.
I think we could split up workspace into 2 different topics. So we could do, because of the 2 different readings for it, right? The virtual work and then the boss with no office, or the open workspace design and everything like that. So we can split that up because those are 2 pretty different things. So we could split those 2 things up and how they relate to doohickeys, and then I don't know about the other one, but it's not that I had.
Well, we just need the half paper, so I think he was saying we either need to do 4 problems with the 2 solutions or 2 problems with the 4 solutions.
Yeah, so like there would be 2 different problems there within workspace design. Does that make sense? Based off of the 2 different readings. So somebody could focus on the 2 different readings, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, I'm trying to think back to the, doohickey environment and what I would write about. So maybe we could all just kind of brainstorm and read through personally, I have to kind of read through that every time to see what the problems are at doohickey to know what to write about.
Yeah.
And I think it might be easier if we do 4 separate issues and then two solutions. Just because if we all are writing different solutions, then we might duplicate work and stuff like that.
What if we planned on identifying problems, a specific amount of problems by next Tuesday or whatever it is, and then we each picked a solution to that problem.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, I like that idea too.
Okay, so should we just still keep planning out for next week to meet and figure it out?
Sorry, Amanda, I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Are we just planning on meeting next Tuesday then and just figuring out the people then?
Sorry, I think it's Michael's baby. I can't hear.
Sorry, let me mute my microphone so everyone can hear her.
So we're just gonna plan on meeting next Tuesday then and then just figuring out the paper then?
Well, because I don't think we're supposed to meet next week, if I'm not mistaken. So if that's the case, we could just, as long as everyone's communicating on our group discussion board, we could just do it that way. And then maybe if we post our problem that we're going to write about and we kind of each come up with a different one, then we could get going on that just as soon as we agree on the 4 problems. Because I'd rather not have to wait till next Tuesday, if that's okay.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, as long as everyone, let's just post what we're writing, and I'll create a Google Doc and are we having Brent put it together, or like am I putting it together? Like how are we doing this?
I'd rather not leave the last one in Brent's hands.
Okay.
But I don't know that necessarily means that you have to do it, Amanda.
I don't think I've ever put one together, so I can do that if you guys want me to.
Okay. Yeah, you can if you want, and then I'll just email Brent and have him do one of them.
Yeah, that'd
So
be
can we
great.
have all of our problems identified by Friday? Would that work for everybody? And then we can start on our writing.
Yeah.
Or do we want it earlier, like Thursday?
No, that's good.
I'll probably have it done. I'm trying to get everything done within the next day, so I'll have everything done before that. But whatever works for everybody. It's up to you because you're the one putting it together. So.
I'll try and have mine done by Friday at the absolute latest.
Okay, so if we have everything done by Friday, all the problems identified, then we can divvy out the writing assignments and have that done pretty easily, right?
Yeah, that should.
Yeah.
Did we just lose Marnie and Zach at the same time? I think so.
Oh.
All right, well, I think we decided everything, so.
Okay, so we're just identifying the problems by Friday. We're not doing actual writing.
I think so, unless if you want to just take one of the problems and write about it if you're going to be busy, then I think that'd be fine too.
Okay, well, I'll see. I'll look at.
I
Ugh.
understand.
Week.
Hey, sounds good.
Okay, great.
Anything
Thanks,
else?
guys.
I don't think so.
Hey, thanks for everything, guys.
Yeah.
Have a great night.
You. Bye.
Bye.